Welcome back to America Decides. Thanks for staying with us. So we talked about this before we went to break. Several House Republicans are holdouts. They're not yet sold on the budget resolution that might come to the floor as early as this week. So they went to the White House today to talk to the chief spokesperson for the party and the chief salesman for the agenda. Who is that? That would be President Trump. Nikole Killion is on Capitol Hill to tell us about that meeting. And of course, House Speaker Mike Johnson, day in and day out, is nothing if not chipper. He came back from the White House meeting chipper. Tell us why.
Well, he too has to sell the deal, right? So he can't paint a pessimistic view if he wants to get this thing passed this week, which is what he wants to do. And he continues to insist that he believes this budget resolution will clear before week's end, although I would note that as of yet, nothing has been scheduled in the House Rules Committee. Of course, any piece of legislation before it hits the floor has to go through the Rules Committee first. And so that is not happening. Now, we do know President Trump is set to address the NRCC later tonight at a campaign-related dinner, so we certainly expect a lot of House Republicans in the room. Whether or not those conversations will continue there remains to be seen, but certainly the Speaker hoping that he can twist a few more arms to get this budget resolution clear. And just to be clear, Major, this is just to set the guidelines and the process for moving forward with this budget resolution. It's not the actual legislation itself, but it is a key hurdle that has to be cleared for Republicans to move forward with the president's agenda.
And Nikole, what's the tenor of the conversation about tariffs up there?
Well, obviously, we had the U.S. Trade Representative here on Capitol Hill earlier today testifying before the Senate Finance Committee. Tomorrow he'll appear before House Ways and Means. But he continued to defend the president's proposal here, saying that the U.S. trade deficit is over $1 trillion, that this is something that has been decades in the making and needs to be rectified. And yes, there may be some pain that comes with this process. At the same time, he tried to urge patience by saying that he has been in conversation with a number of his counterparts in other countries, that many dozens of nations have reached out, over 50, to his office to try to engage in negotiations. We have also heard that number is upwards of 70 different countries. But that being said, he did say that he was going to kind of take a country-by-country approach in how these negotiations may go. He did not give any timetable for how long this may be worked out. And when I asked him specifically why there aren't any exemptions with respect to this tariff policy, which is something that many senators pressed him on, he said that, the president didn't want any exemptions. They don't want to take a Swiss cheese approach to what he believes is a universal problem.
With all the details, as always, from Capitol Hill, Nikole Killion, thanks so very much. I want to bring in our political panel. Michael LaRosa served as First Lady Jill Biden's press secretary. Lance Trover was a spokesperson for Doug Burgum's 2024 presidential campaign. Doug Burgum, now the Interior Secretary. So, Lance, what's the deal on the fresh-baked cookies? Look it up, kids. Look it up. You won't be disappointed.
As I said before, if fresh-baked cookies are wrong, I don't want to be right.
That's good. That's a nice soundbite to get you through that. I want to play for you sound from today on Capitol Hill. Senator Thom Tillis, Republican of North Carolina, sometimes on the Trump train, sometimes not, talking about his overall anxieties about this tariff issue. Let's listen.
I'm getting my head around the alla prima approach. I'm not condemning it because I'm not a trade expert, but I still, at some point, and I understand that you are the trade rep, so if you own this decision, then I'll look to you to figure out if we're going to be successful. If you don't own the decision, I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke if it's wrong, and who I put up on a platform and thank them for the novel approach that was successful if they're right.
Whose throat I get to choke if it's wrong.
Speaking of looking for sound bites.
Let's take it away.
I was at a meeting on the Hill today where there were several House Republicans, and a lot of discussion was going on. And I actually didn't hear the tariff discussion. It didn't raise its head too much. More people were talking about the budget vote that's potentially coming forward.
Because that's coming up in the next few days.
That was really top of mind. But I found it interesting that
that's their burden.
But then I found it interesting that the tariff wasn't really top of mind. Here's why I'm thinking of this, though, is because many of these Republican members represent blue-collar districts that have seen their towns decimated, factories leaving, wages gone, jobs going overseas. So that's where a lot of these House Republicans are. And so I think, the budget and getting the tax cut package passed is going to be priority number one.
But Lance, let me just answer you that, because it's a very important point, because their perspective is grounded in an understanding that some of their constituents have. But what their constituents, and I really wonder if they're hearing this, When Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, says the jobs that are going to be created are robot jobs in factories that are going to need HVAC engineers to keep the robots cool. I'm not making that up. That's what he said. Do you think those constituents in those districts that have seen some deindustrialization are expecting robot workers and HVAC technicians?
Well, I think we've already, look, we've already seen prior to this what's gone on with the tariffs, a reinvestment by major companies in this country. I think we will continue to see that. We now have 70 countries, according to the White House, coming to the table saying, hey, but here's the reason why. We have a strong economy. Gas prices are down. We saw the jobs numbers last week. We have a strong economy. We can bear the brunt of some of this. Some of these other countries, China in particular, who wants to play fast and loose here, I'm not sure that they really can in the long run.
Michael, you've been biding your time.
Yeah,
Jump in.
So here's the problem. Unlocking reconciliation through the budget resolution to get us to tax reform and cutting the budget, it's all going to be negated by tariff policy. It's exactly what happened under Trump 1.0. He did tax cuts and he did the budget. And guess what happened? Employment slumped in the manufacturing industry. The trade deficit rose, and this was all prior to COVID. And the economic gains he made, the economic growth gains he made up until 2018, all slumped because of the tariff policy. We've seen it under McKinley, who created a trade war in the early 1900s. We saw Hoover double down on it, which led to the Great Depression. And they both created political realignments. This has been an economic loser for the country for a very long time, but it's even a bigger political loser for Republicans. And Democrats are fine for them to walk the plank. But I'm guessing the animated Mr. Tillis from North Carolina would be happy to sign on to my old boss, Maria Cantwell's bill, which would rein back, wrestle control back of tariff policy.
Put it back in Congress's hands instead of a president.
But I'm guessing we won't see that go to the floor of the Senate or the House.
Well, the Senate passed a non-binding resolution on that last week,
right?
With a few Republican defections. Here's what I also want to ask you, because the Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, went to great pains today to quote Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi from years back, decrying the budget imbalance, the trade imbalance rather, not budget, but trade imbalance with China, and saying anyone who's a Democrat now who criticizes the president is a hypocrite, because back then, back in the day, Democrats cared about this issue.
Sure, I'm sure they did, but they probably are hypocrites, I would say. I mean, right? That's what happens when you...
You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. I don't need to re-rack that. He just said it. Democrats are hypocrites, some of them.
I mean, look, I'm a new Democrat. I come from the wing of the Democratic Party that it supports free trade, the Bill Clinton Democratic wing of the party. Tariffs have not been a successful economic tool, no matter when in history we have used them. Look, I know that there are splits. There was a split in the Democratic Party when President Obama tried to pass trade protection assistance in 2016. It was a major split, and it was one of the few things that President Obama and Paul Ryan worked on together to get done.
Michael LaRosa, Lance Trover, I appreciate it both very much.